Whether you're using your smartphone or a camera to create your videos, having great audio is so important. We like to say that 50% of video is audio, and what's so cool is that you don't need to break the bank in order to have great audio. And that's why in this video, I'll be breaking down 3 different mics that come in at around $50 to see which mic you should buy, whether you're a smartphone creator or using a camera. So let's go.
You gotta just press record.
Hey, what's up? It's Omar El-Takouri with Think Media. And just to let you know, I'll post all links to the mics we'll be testing down in the description below, as well as some accessories that I like to use when it comes to filming my videos. Like I love to boom my mic. And so as you can see right now, there's actually a boom mic, and I'll show you that later on in the video. But before we get into the rest of this video, I actually wanted to go and do an outdoor test while I talk through some of the similarities when it comes to these around $50 mics. So let's head to the park and see how these mics sound. So I am using the Comica mic first, and it's about arm's length distance. You know, I'm using my Sony ZV-E10. But let's talk similarities when it comes to these mics. I would say the first big similarity is that none of these mics need power. You don't need to charge them. You don't need to put batteries. You simply plug them into the camera or smartphone you want to use them with, and you're going to get great audio. And all mics that I'm using come with a dead cat or a, I guess you could say, wind muff, like these things. And so, I mean, maybe it'll draw a little bit of attention, but nonetheless, because it doesn't need battery, it's very convenient to use, especially if you are using it with a smartphone, because you simply plug it in and it's just gonna auto gain. For the Sony ZV-E10, I have my input gain set at 17 for these mics and for this test, and I'm treating nothing to the audio. I'm not doing anything to the audio. But another similarity with these mics is that they are condenser mics with a front, pickup pattern, meaning, it captures audio in the general vicinity in which it's pointing. That's why these mics work great right on top of the camera, like how I'm using it right now. But they also work best when you can get them as close as you can to your mouth. And so when I use these mics in the studio, they're about 8 to 12 inches away from me, right out of the frame, but it's pointed at my chest. And so it's capturing the audio in that general vicinity. Now, if I flip them around, it's not gonna be as good because the audio is now coming out from over here and I'm behind the camera. However, for most use cases, just having it pointed at you is gonna be fine. And if you are turning around the camera and talking, if it's gonna be an extended time, I would face the camera or the mic toward your mouth. But all of these mics sound pretty good. I would say it's kind of hard to determine the difference between the three, but this is kind of your vlog setting. So if you were to get a mic like this for vlogging, which is great because of the wind muff. So like I said, slight breeze and we are outside, arm's length distance. But let's head back into the studio and talk about what you get in each package based off of how much they cost. Let's go. All right, so we are back in the office, and I am currently using the Comica mic, the $40 / the cheapest mic out of the two, and I have it boomed out of the shot just like this, and I'll show you in a second how I actually boom the mic. I think it's a cool little setup and maybe something you would like, but this is the cheapest mic out of the three, and I would even say one of the best values out of the three, being that you get a really nice case with this mic, as well as the TRS and the TRRS cables. So if you are gonna use this mic with your smartphone, you essentially are ready to go with the mic purchase itself, minus an adapter you would need to plug into your Lightning port if you have an Apple, or maybe a USB-C if you have an Android. But nice that it comes with both of those, so that if you're using a camera or a smartphone, you'd be good to go. Another cool thing that the Comica mic comes with that the others two don't is a windscreen. And so what you see right here is a windscreen. You don't see just like the mic by itself. Let me kind of take it off. So this is the windscreen that it comes with, and you can buy something like this for like 10 bucks if you wanted to put on the other two. But coming in at the cheapest price, it's kind of cool that they include it, in my opinion. And like what I mentioned at the park, they all come with a dead cat, which is great for very windy days. But I definitely think this is nice to have because it'll kill some plosives if you're using it in this manner, or even if it's not that windy of a day, it's not a bad idea to have something like this on your mic. Now, as far as everything you get in the box with your purchase of $40, I think it's the best value out of the three. But let's switch over to the Deity D4 Mini and talk about what you get in that kit. So this mic comes in at $50 at the time of shooting this video here in the US, and it is the newest mic out of the three. This mic definitely has a feature that I think you should know about. I think it's important to note though, what you get in the package, you're gonna get the two cables like the Comica had, so the TRS and the TRRS if you are using it with a smartphone. You're also gonna get a dead cat, You're also gonna get a really cool intuitive shock mount that actually holds down the mic cable, which I think is super appreciated because not only does it keep the mic from bouncing around, but it also holds the cable in place, which is super nice, especially if you're out vlogging and things like that. Now, when it comes to audio quality, you're gonna get a very similar performance as you barely probably even noticed when I switched the mic. However, I think the only thing to consider with this mic as opposed to the other two is that the Deity has an output line out that would plug into your camera or smartphone, but there's also an input line built into this mic. Now, maybe you're asking, Omar, why do I need an input when it comes to my shotgun mic? I would say the only maybe use case this would be necessary for is if you needed audio, good audio that came around a camera per se. So maybe you put this mic on top of a camera, but then maybe you plug in a wireless mic solution for an interview or something like that. And what the mic will actually do if you do this is it'll put the audio from the mic itself on one of the channels, like the left side, and then it'll put the audio from the plugged in mic on the right side. And then later in post, you can do something with it. But I definitely think for the average YouTube creator, you won't need to use that feature. So maybe you do want to go with the Comica instead, unless you like the sound of this better. All right, so now we got the legendary Rode Video Micro hooked up to the boom. And this is how this mic sounds now compared to these three on a price standpoint. This one comes in at $60 at the time of shooting this video, and it's the one that comes with the least amount of things. So it definitely does come with the dead cat and your mic cable, but it doesn't come with one for your smartphone, and it doesn't come with any other things, doesn't come with a case or anything like that. So it being the most expensive comes with the less things. However, because this is an older mic, you could totally shop used. And I do like how this sounds straight out, more naturally. I think there's a little bit more low end, which works best for my voice because I have a little bit more of a, lower voice. However, I think if you're listening on a smartphone and most content is consumed on smartphones, you can't really tell a huge difference. So I think for all the little it comes with in the box, it doesn't make it the best value. However, I do want to show you this boom setup. So let's jump into my little vlog setup and I'll show you kind of what I got going on and how you can actually boom a mic like this. All right, so this is the vlog rig that I'll be using to show you everything. Got the mic facing me. This is the Comica mic, and I got it on my iPhone 13 mini, and this not so little wide angle lens, but it definitely helps the vibe. So leaving my bathroom, entering office, and this is kind of the setup that you were just seeing that I was in. And it's very simple and minimal. I don't like having a bunch of stands, hence why I wanna actually show you my mic stand or my mic boom, which is this, it's called a Pyle. It's by a brand named Pyle, not Kyle, but made in the US. And it has a heavy bass, which is dope, which is the reason why I like it, small footprint. And this is a pretty heavy duty and large, mic boom and mic arm. And I even had to remove the spring for this setup because it's such a light mic that's holding up, but you can hold heavier mics if this is something you wanted. And then obviously I extend the mic's reach by being able to plug in a longer cable into the camera. That's about $9, maybe $10. And then right now you can see the Rode mic is on there, but I have this little clamp mic holder, which is cool because if you're switching to and from setups, this is very convenient because you don't have to like hardcore clip it in like these. Like I've even tried to, if I try to do this like one-handed, I'll freaking not even gonna try. And so I love this little thing. I had to show you actually. Little light flex real quick, you know what I'm saying? Think Media, you know what I'm saying? But I actually use it for my live streaming and Zoom calls as well because my desk is a little thick, and so I couldn't like clamp something on here. Sorry, it's a mess. But I actually have been using the Rode mic or the Deity mic as well as the Comica mic on my Zoom calls because they sound great, and I love how you can have them outside of the shot. And so that's how I actually set up these mics to sound as best as possible when using them to film videos like this. If you have a super wide angle lens, then you could totally put it on top of your camera. But anytime you could bring a mic closer to your mouth, if you're further away from the camera, your best bet is to do so to get the best audio possible. But let's jump right back into my setup. So when it comes down to these three mics compared to each other, which one should you buy? The Comica, the Deity, or the Rode? If I had to choose after testing all three of these mics and looking at all the things you get, I would have to go with the Comica mic as the best cheap mic, because at $39 and what you get, it makes it the best value out of the three. With not only the mic itself, but coming with a nice hard case, the two cables so that if you wanted to use it with your smartphone, you could, as well as the windscreen and the wind muff, all coming in at under 40 bucks is an incredible deal, and it opens up my ability to accessorize it as I need it. So if I had a $50 audio budget, now I can use another $11 to kind of go towards something else. Maybe that's a friction arm that you want to put on top of your camera so you can bring it close to your mouth. But when you're listening to these mics, for the most part, you can't even tell the difference. And so might as well go with the cheapest option and then accessorize as you need it. Now, maybe you want to see what other options on what kinds of mics you should go with. Maybe it's a lavalier mic that clips on your shirt. Maybe it's a dynamic mic that's a USB mic that plugs into a computer or laptop. Be sure to click or tap the screen so that you know which mic you should buy if it's not one of these. And I can't wait to see you in a future video. Peace.